Hey, good morning and welcome to Breakthrough Walls. I'm Ken Walls and I'm your host. And today I have somebody from way down under in Australia on the show. This guy's name is John Dwyer, and I can't wait to hear his story. And you guys, I'm just talking to him backstage for a few minutes. He's actually really, really funny. You're going to enjoy this one. So do me a favor. Stop everything you're doing and share this out with everyone that you know across all of your social media platforms. And let's get a lot of attention on here for Mr. John Dwyer. We'll be back with you in just a second. Okay, we're back. Let me bring John on. John, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Ken.
I'm grateful to have you here.
I'm very pleased to be here. Thank you very much for having me on.
If my 14-year-old daughter were interviewing you, she could match your accent.
Oh, really? So she does the Aussie accent pretty well.
She does the Aussie, she does British, and she does them. It's like she knows the difference. I'm like, really? Where did you learn that? And she's like, TikTok.
Really?
TikTok. I'm like, what? It's really good too.
Wow. Well, she might have a career path on stage.
I know, right? Yeah. She's something else. But John, I'm grateful to have you on here. We were introduced by our mutual friend Joel Weldon, and he's spectacular, and him and his daughter referred you over to be on my show, and I'm very grateful for that. So why don't you start with telling everybody where it all began for you? Where were you born and raised?
I was born in the 1800s in Sydney, Australia, and my mum and dad are up in heaven these days, but they were a working class family, and I'm one of three boys. And you wouldn't believe it, Ken. Talk about bad luck. My mum was a seamstress; she was a dressmaker, and she had three boys.
Oh no, poor!
I got sick of wearing those dresses. I'm telling you.
Oh my gosh.
But by the way, in this day and age, Ken, it'll be normal.
I mean, yeah, you'd fit right in with some people. So you grew up. Were you like in the city of Sydney, or is that like you were in the city?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, yeah, we were probably 20 minutes from the main, central district of Sydney with the Opera House and the Harbour Bridge. So, we're probably 20 or 25 minutes from that. But, yeah, a suburban sort of family. Dad was a telephone technician, and it was your typical working class family. And went to mass every Sunday morning and had fish and chips on a Friday night.
Wow. Yeah. So, I mean, being from America and never having been to Australia, although I have a lot of friends and students in Australia. What was it like growing up in Sydney, Australia? I mean, I don't even know where to begin with a question like that, but what's it like? You've been to America, right?
Oh, 30 or 40 times. Yeah.
Yeah. How much different is it?
Not a lot different, except in one aspect, we don't have guns. So that's one. Right. That's why. Right. And look, I don't want to sort of make a joke of it, but about 20 years ago or 25 years ago, we did have a gun massacre. And as it turned out, the Prime Minister at the time had a moratorium. He said, everyone hand in your guns. And I know this will sound weird to you guys because it is part of your makeup, but that's what everyone did. They handed in their guns. And so the reason we don't have, I'm not saying there aren't guns in Australia. Of course, there's some people have them,
Yeah.
But really the normal everyday person, there'd be one in a gazillion that would have a gun. So yeah, that's one big difference. And so all we do now is just knife people because we're still allowed to have a crocodile Dundee. Crocodile Dundee now.
That's not a knife.
That's not a knife. And you're not going to believe this, Ken. You're going to think I'm name dropping here, but I actually did do a few things with Paul Hogan, I own a marketing agency, so therefore you tend to use a lot of celebrities for TV advertisements and stuff. Okay. And I said to him, did he have any clue at all that was going to be such a big thing, that one line? And he said, no, of course, you just didn't know.
Wow. That's so cool.
Growing up in Sydney, look, I've been to America a gazillion times. I've done a lot of work over the years with Disney, and so whether it be sort of Anaheim or over the other side with Orlando, not a lot different. I mean, we're a bit of a mixture cultural-wise. We're a mixture between the English and the Americans, and I grew up on Leave It to Beaver and Gilligan's Island and the Brady Bunch and all that stuff. So very, very similar to growing up in America. It's not a lot different.
Yeah. Wow. So y'all watch American shows there?
Oh, we grew up on, as I said, Annie Oakley and Leave It to Beaver and Gomer Pyle and all of that. So, and of course, up until wherever that was, 15 or 20 years ago, like America, we had 3 stations. And it was Channel 9, Channel 10, Channel 7. And we would just basically everything that came in. Bonanza, I remember the family, mum and dad would get us in front of the TV on whatever night that was. And we'd watch Bonanza with little Joe. And then, of course, Sunday night was Walt Disney.
Wow. Yeah. So what was, growing up, I always wonder if there was like some kind, there always is. There's some kind of an influence, a person, place, thing, event, maybe a multitude of things that have happened as a child that kind of pushed you in the direction that you became as an adult. When I ask you that, what comes to mind? What kind of moved you towards what you do today, do you think?
Yeah, well, today and for the last gazillion years, I've had a marketing agency, so we help businesses market their products or services. And I think really what influenced me, I have to be honest with you, this sounds corny, but when I was a child, I was reasonably good at artwork. And so therefore, and typical children's artwork was cartoons. Basically, I draw cartoons.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that was definitely influenced by Walt Disney. There's no question about that. And then as I got to my later teens, really later teens, as in 19 and 20, I saved up some money and went to Disneyland a few times, and I guess really that was quite instrumental in making me, appreciate the value of creativity. I'm right-brained, I'm not left-brained, so you put a spreadsheet near me and I run the other way.
Same. I'm the same. Yeah.
Thankfully, I married a girl who was left-brained. Otherwise, I don't think our 6 millennial children would have eaten as they were growing up, because I was going to put it on the next project,
Right, right.
Yeah, so therefore, I think really, and again, it sounds very, very cute and corny, but I really do think that the Disney organization had a big effect on me, because right from, the ages of 9 or 10 or 11, I was drawing Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck and all that sort of stuff, as you do as a kid. But then because I enjoyed it so much, I decided to sort of head down that path. And I knew when I got to about the age of 19 or 20 that there was no money in drawing things anymore, because computers were coming in. And so I thought, maybe where I should head is the strategic thinking behind the drawings.
Yeah, that's awesome. I saw a meme on X, I think, the other day, about what Walt Disney would think of his organization today. I'm not sure he would be I'm not, we'll leave it at that. I'm not sure he would be like believing in that magic. That's all.
The funny part about it, Ken, because they've gone, to the detriment of their shareholders, they've gone woke. But when I did a lot of Disney courses, I'd go to Orlando and do. You'd pay $5,000 or $6,000 at the time, and this was 20 years ago. And you would spend a week with their Imagineers, and they'd lock your way into their institute, which was great. Mind you, every time I went to do one of these courses, it cost me a fortune, because can you imagine having at that time 6 children under 12 or something and saying, look, I'm going to Disney World, you're staying home? Not a chance.
Right.
So every trip to the Institute of Disney, of course, cost me a fortune.
Oh my gosh.
I I remember asking the Imagineers, you could ask questions throughout the week that you were, going through the Institute with them. And I just said to them, is it true that when Walt Disney was alive, that, you worked at Disney, you could not have a moustache, and if you're a lady, you could only have earrings that were the size of a 1 cent coin, and all the stuff that we've heard. And he said yes. And he said, obviously times, well, they were even changing then 20 years ago. But he said at the end of the day, he had created a vision for what those parks stood for. And he didn't, and this particular engineer said it was almost military style in making sure that everything was done to that degree. And he said, that's why we are who we are.
Yep. We're missing that in this world.
Ken, don't start me. Do not start me. I think Mr. Kardashian has a lot to answer for.
Oh my God. So you were really into drawing the cartoons, which I think is really amazing. I own a marketing company too. I don't know if you know that. And I've been in it for ever. I, however, don't recall ever drawing cartoons. I was always interested in drawing. But even my stick figures didn't look like stick figures. So, and then I bought this one. I remember buying a book that said, hey, if you turn it upside down, and that actually works. If you turn a picture, something upside down and draw it, there's some weird thing in the brain, but it wasn't a natural gift. Now, when I got into Photoshop and stuff like that, well, that became something totally different for me because I love it. But talk about when you made the transit. That's the wrong thing to say. You decided to pursue this as a career. What was there? You said you were in your early 20s. What kind of took you down the path?
Yeah, look, I think because and Ken, I'm guessing you were the same, because I can detect already there's a certain sarcasm and cheekiness to your personality.
No.
But yeah, because my tongue runs faster than the brain, I was told to stand outside the classroom many, many, many times, of course, And I went to what they call a De La Salle Brothers Catholic school, which meant that they just enjoyed beating the crap out of you with that leather strap, bang, 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 bang. And my name's John Dwyer, but I always got JD at school, and even the teachers would give me JD. And I would always hear over and over throughout the day at school, JD, get outside. In some instances, they made me sit outside and wouldn't let me come in because they knew they were going to tell me to sit outside. And I think being that bit of a larrikin at school and being a little bit offbeat, I think I was always going to head down the creative path. There's no question about that. And I know, again, that sounds very cute and corny, but, really at the end of the day, the operational side of one's brain, as you know, is the left side. Yeah. And I find operations as boring as you know what. Yeah. And so therefore, I think because I did first level art at school, and that's oil painting and also sketching, there was no question that the career path that I had to take was going to be one that was creatively driven. And, when I left school, I got a job at a big shopping centre, like a big mall, and became the promotions manager of that at the age of 21 and 22, which was awfully dangerous because I had no clue what I was doing. So what would happen is the big stars from America would come out to Australia and be on one of the talk shows. And Muhammad Ali, for example, was one. And I had a deal going with the TV talk show here in Australia that whoever actually appeared on the talk show at lunchtime, like an Ellen-style show, like an Oprah show, we would have first dibs at inviting them to come on stage and be interviewed at this big shopping centre. And it was in the era that there wasn't many big shopping centres, so this one was the big one in Sydney. And I'll never forget, we had Muhammad Ali come out to Australia for a promotional tour, and we got him at the shopping centre. And I used my job, even though I thought I was, too cool for school, the promotions manager at the age of 21 or 22, I had to go out on the main freeway and put those letters. Remember how Pizza Hut used to put the letters in the little strips, pizzas, $29 or something? Well, if we had Max Bygraves or Frank Sinatra or someone coming, I would have to climb up a ladder to the big sign that was facing the freeway and put the name Frank, whatever it might have been. Not that we had Frank Sinatra, I'm just saying that.
Right.
I remember on one occasion, I climbed up the ladder to put Muhammad Ali there, and it got such a stage where I ran out of M's and U's and stuff. I just put Cassius Clay. Well, that did not really go down well.
I guess not. Yeah. Oh my God.
Easier to spell, Ken. It was easier to spell.
Right. Oh my gosh. I think though. So I guess you didn't go to. You call it university there. I think, right? Did you go
college,
to?
Yeah, college, university. Yeah.
Yeah. Did you go to university?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I went. Well, when I say university, we have a night university called Technical College. So therefore,
Okay.
I'd go 3 nights a week to do the advertising degree.
Got it.
And that took me about 3 years to get through that at night time. Yeah.
Okay.
I have to say it was 3 nights a week, but if one of those nights fell on a Friday, it was 2 nights a week.
Right. Yeah, I get it. So you started grassroots. You started learning marketing, grassroots, guerrilla style marketing, like just boots on the ground.
I did, but look, there was a lot of lessons that I learned at this shopping mall, because on one occasion, a big pop star from America came out and we put him on stage, and his name was Leif Garrett. I don't know whether you've ever heard of that name, but
of course.
There you go. Okay, so he was the David Cassidy at the time.
Right.
Yeah. I was a guy. I had no clue. And so therefore, the promoter rang up, and this particular shopping center is called Roselands, okay? And he said, would you like this guy from America, to be on stage on Thursday night? I said, who is he? And he said, his name's Leif Garrett. Well, I'm an idiot. I've got no idea who Leif Garrett is.
Right.
And so I said, yeah, sure. So we advertised on TV and the paper, come to Roselands Shopping Center on Thursday night to see Leif Garrett. Well, of course, 15,000 screaming schoolgirls came.
Right.
And yeah, and I was lucky I held on to my job. I should have lost it, because as it turned out, it was so pandemonium that the police would not let him on stage. They just made him come to a balcony, like a papal balcony above the stage.
Wow.
And this idiot who you're talking to, Ken, I decided to hype up the girls as if they needed it and put his music on.
Oh my God.
The moment that they thought he was coming on stage because of the music, they all pushed forward. They all pushed forward, and there was weld mesh fencing around the stage back in those days. And it was the fencing that you'd see in schoolyards. And anyway, as they pushed forward, girls got their hands caught in the weld mesh fencing, and we had broken arms and legs all over the shop. And the front page of the newspaper that was the next day was Roselands Massacre, and it was an aerial shot of 4 ambulances in the shopping centre, putting girls in the back of them, right? And I said to the boss sarcastically, isn't any news good news? He said, idiot, get out of my office.
Did you get fired?
No, I don't know how I survived. I look back on it now, 1,000 years later, and I think, how did I not get fired? All the shops had to pull down their shutters. The only shops that made
oh my God.
the only shops that made any money were selling bubble gum. That was it. Ken, I've got to tell you this one. This is how stupid this guest that you've got on today is. About 6 months later, I was looking after about 30 shopping centres for a company called Woolworths, and it's not the Woolworth in America, but it's Woolworths, right? And they got about 35, 40 shopping centres. And as it turned out, this one shopping centre, I decided to drop ping pong balls from a helicopter into the car park with numbers on them. And one of the numbers was $10,000. The other one was 20. And there was trips to Disneyland and all sorts of things. Well, you can imagine 10,000 people turned up in the car park waiting for the drop from the helicopter of these ping pong machines. And as it turned out, when they did drop all the ping pong balls, like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of them, and the number obviously denoted whatever the prize it was, I broke the record. It wasn't 4 ambulances, it was 11 ambulances then that we had come into the shopping centre car park. I'm a record breaker. I'm a record breaker.
Wait, why did ping pong balls hurt anybody?
No, it wasn't the ping pong. It was the fact that they were being dropped into a car park with thousands of people scrambling.
Oh, they got injured, stumbling over each other.
exactly. It was Beatlemania. Yeah. So I
Well,
love breaking.
at least it wasn't frozen turkeys like on WKRP.
Really? Is that what they've
Did you
done?
ever did you ever see the television show WKRP in
Oh,
Cincinnati?
yes, I did too. I did.
The less whatever dropped like frozen turkeys for Thanksgiving. Or I forget. No, maybe it was I don't remember what it was. It might have been real turkeys. I don't remember, but it is hilarious. It's hilarious. He's going, "Oh my God," he's dropping them out of a helicopter.
That would hurt.
Bad.
That would hurt.
Oh yeah, it was
Yeah,
funny though. But so that's but that's cool that you did all of these. My wife was the global VP of marketing for a couple of different $500 million a year companies, and one of them that she was the marketing director for City Center Mall in Columbus, Ohio. It was a mall right in downtown Columbus, Ohio, and she had Santa Claus skydive into the center of the mall one year. So yeah,
really?
she's done some cool stuff like that too.
Wow.
But I think that, you know, John, what's interesting about, you know, some of the stories you're telling, number one, you're a great storyteller, but number two, I think that people need to know that I always say the best marketers are the guys who've lost the most money. Like, they've lost a lot of money because you just go out, you got to try. Like it may work and it probably won't work, but at least try. Right. Right. But I love the fact that you just do.
Well, yeah, I mean, unfortunately, us entrepreneurs, and you're one of them, tend to be wired ready, fire, aim. Right? And on a serious note, just for a second, I feel bad because over the years, we've had the roller coaster ride like all the entrepreneurs, of course, or like most entrepreneurs. But my wife, Gail, you wouldn't believe it. She's one of five. And as she was growing up, her father lost 4 homes on the horses. He was a gambler, compulsive gambler. And of course, she goes and marries an entrepreneur. She's a fool, isn't she? So therefore, you know, and not that I would ever gamble on poker machines or the horses, but nonetheless, being an entrepreneur, you gamble on your next big idea that you come up with. Yeah. And I often said to her, geez, you drew the short straw. Your father was a gambler and you've married an entrepreneur. What were you thinking?
But, you know, again, I think, you know, I've been on, you know, I've done over 4,000 live streams, and I've had people approach me that I've never met, but they watch my online videos and stuff. And they think I'm somebody special. And I always kind of laugh because the only thing special about me is I'm dumb enough to keep doing it. Like, you know, like, I just think you just got to be dumb enough to just keep going. I don't know, but I think that's what separates people who make it from people who don't make it. And so talk about, so you're working for these malls and stuff. At what point did you venture out into your own first business?
Yeah. Probably around about the mid-20s, I think it was. And not the mid-1920s, but my mid-20s. Right. I'm old, but not that old. Right? So it would have been 24, 25, I guess. And what happened, Ken, was that I was doing a lot of what we call continuity promotions for the shopping centre. So how that would work is that if you, and this is pre-digital, it would be, look, for every $10 you spend, you would get a little stamp, like a postage stamp, and you would lick it and put it onto a saver sheet. And I'm sure you're used to this with some of the supermarket chains. And back in the day, not so much now. And so when you put your stamp on that saver sheet, when you saved up 10 stamps, you could get cookware or glassware for special prices. And these things were just, you know, going nuts. And scratch games. We did a lot of scratch games, and they were going nuts. And I thought, look, it's time to move on and see if I can do these things myself, because I was designing a lot of them. But of course, you know, you're getting paid a wage, whereas the shopping centre was making all the money. And so, I left and we set up a business called Dynamic Ideas Company, the Dynamic Ideas Company. I'm not really good at acronyms. I don't know what KFC stands for, and yet I came up with a company called Dynamic Ideas Company. Not a good acronym. So anyway, DIC. So anyway, that was the business for quite some time, and we basically did all the big scratch bingos for Murdoch's newspapers in Australia.
Wow.
So of course you would know who Rupert Murdoch is.
Yeah.
And his business down under is called News Limited. And so I was bold enough, even at that young age, to knock on the door of News Limited. And of course, newspapers aren't what they used to be now. But back in the day, they were just hungry for any promotions that would actually sell more newspapers, because then they could obviously charge advertisers more money. So, we did pretty well. We were doing, quite a few $1 million worth of turnover each year, just doing the scratch bingos for newspapers and for fast food chains like McDonald's and KFC and places like that. So my age from 25 through to probably 35 was, I guess, majority of what I did was a lot of the big scratch games and what we call continuity promotions for the big names.
And that was your company?
Yeah, that was my company. We built it up to have a staff of about 21 or 22, and it was firing along really, really well into, I guess, my mid to later 30s. And then unfortunately it all came crumbling down because I went over to visit Disney on one occasion in Burbank to take out a license. We were doing all of the bubblegum cards. So you guys grew up, of course, in America with basketball cards and so forth. And of course, the movies and what have you. And here in Australia, we grew up on the same thing, but our cards are the rugby league license. We call it rugby league, our football game. And anyway, I took out the license for Little Mermaid and Lion King and all those sorts of things. And as I was away visiting Disney in Burbank, the general manager that was working for me at the time made a big printing mistake and cost me $2.2 million in a week. Yeah, which basically we lost everything. We lost the house and everything else. He met me at the airport when I got home and said, I got some bad news. And I said, what? And what happens, Ken, when you print these big, trading card series, the printing sheet is about the size of your desk. If you've got a big desk, and you fit about 100 of these cards up to it. And when they go through the bread slicer, they're supposed to be jumbled up and put into the polypropylene packet so that when the kids go to the drugstore, they get number 3, number 19, number 92. So it's a mixture. Right. And he had actually set up the sheet of the cards 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in a row, which meant when the kids went to the drugstore and bought the packets of the Disney cards, they got 1 to 6, 1 to 6, 1 to 6, 1 to 6, which, So we had to bring back all of the cards, and we didn't burn them. We gave them to charities. But by the same token, $2.2 million in 1 week hurt.
Wow. Ouch.
Yeah, and that was 20 something years ago now. So you can imagine what that would be worth in today's money. But 2.2, it was pretty big dollars back then. Yeah.
Well, it's pretty big dollars, period.
That's
a lot of money. So you oh, look, my wife is watching. She probably heard me from the other room talking about marketing and got on. So you lost everything, been there, done that. Oh my gosh, so many times. I have PTSD just thinking about it. So when you lose everything, there's this weird thing that happens. I think that it creates this, it gives you the ability to take even bigger risks, I think. Because if you, and here, before anybody types in I'm crazy, I think it makes you go, wow, I lost everything and I recovered and I'm okay.
Yep.
Right. So what happened after that? You lose everything, you lose the house, you lose everything. What happened then?
Look, we had a lovely acreage property at the time, about 2 hours north of Sydney. And it was just lovely. It was 14 acres and had the guest house with little log cabin and all that sort of stuff. And I'll never forget, Ken, the day that we left to drive down to Sydney and effectively rent a little unit. As I was driving, we had the kids in the back of the car. I don't think we had 6 kids at the time. We might have had 3 of them. And I looked across at my wife, and there was tears just rolling down her eyes. Not that she ever said anything. She never, ever said anything. She just rolled with the punches and has sense. But I forgot the day that we lost, or we left our home. The one that we lost was Mother's Day. Would you believe it was Mother's Day?
Oh, dude.
Yeah. And the funny thing is that the little unit that we rented in Sydney, and basically we didn't have any furniture, we didn't have anything, because typical silly entrepreneur. I mean, everything was in the business, so when it went down, everything went down. A couple of friends of mine had asked Gail, my wife, what had happened, and she didn't tell them the absolute depth of despair that we're in, but they worked it out. And when we got to this unit, would you believe, these buddies of mine had put all the furniture in there, because they knew we didn't have a lounge suite, we were going to be sitting on boxes, and they put a refrigerator and microwave, everything you could possibly think, and there was just a note on the table from their names, and as it turned out, when I opened up the fridge, it was full of beer. And as it turned out, I rang them up and I just said, listen, if you're going to do a good deed in the future, you got the wrong brand of beer. Seriously, get it right. Seriously, if you're going to do something nice, do it properly,
Oh my gosh, that's funny.
So they were great buddies. And as it turned out, Ken, we had to put the kids into a new school and all that sort of stuff, because they were all young at the time. And on one occasion, I dropped the kids off at the little St. Joseph's school. And I went to say a prayer in the church next door to St. Joseph's Catholic Church. And as it turned out, you wouldn't believe it, the kids, the little 5 and 6-year-old, went into their classroom, and I went to the door of the church. It was about 8:30 in the morning, and the door was locked. And I looked up to the sky and said, okay, I get the message, right? And so I went around to the side of the church, and the priest was just opening up the church. And he said to me, can I help you? I said, look, I just want to get in and steal all the money out of the poor boxes, and I'll be out of here, okay?
Yeah, right.
And he let me in, and I just said a prayer to the guy upstairs. I know this is sounding a bit melancholy, but it's the truth. And I just said, look, is there any chance at all that I could just maybe get a house back again? All I want to do is give the kids a house. And I promise you, if I do get back on my feet, I'll do something that would inspire other people to never give up. And as it turned out, you wouldn't believe it, Ken, this is really spooky. The bank told me that they were coming in to close the business up on the 30th of the month. And this happened to be the 15th of the month, okay? And we had cut our staff down from 20 down to about 8 or 9 people. And that's awful, of course, when you have to do that. But the one get out of jail card that I had was I was pitching for the gridiron cards of Australia. In other words, the rugby league trading cards of Australia. And I knew if I got those, there was a pretty good chance I could make a comeback. And as it turned out, because I had the relationship with the Murdoch newspapers, I could give away cards with the Sunday newspaper, and I could get on the footy show on a Thursday night and make sure that the guys that were running the football show would promote them. And as it turned out, the bank said, well, we're going to close you up on the 30th of the month. If you get that license, well, we won't. But if you don't, then you're gone. And you wouldn't believe it, at 10 to 5 on the 30th of the month, I got a call from the rugby league decision maker, who I'd been annoying, of course, for the whole month. Have you made the decision? Because he had 5 or 6 companies pitching for it. I was one of them. And the phone call rings, and I pick it up gingerly. And he says, it's Graham Clark here, who's a great mate now, but I didn't know him at the time. And I said to him, yes. He says, we've made the decision. I said, oh, God, yeah. What is it? He said, you've got the license.
Oh, my God.
I said, oh, thank you. And he said, on one condition. And I said, anything. He said, you never ring me again for the rest of your life. You're the most annoying bastard that I've ever met. And I said to him, well, persistence beats intelligence, And as it turned out, Ken, we got the license, and I was able to go out and promote it through the Sunday papers by giving out sample cards with every Sunday paper. And
wow,
I got it out through the TV shows and this, that, and the other. We made the entire $2.2 million back in one season.
Hallelujah. That is so awesome, man. That's so awesome. I'm sitting here and I'm listening to you, and I've heard, I'm friends with Grant Cardone and Mark Victor Hansen, all these amazing, well-known people. And Brian Proctor, Bob Proctor's son, is a dear friend of mine. And I think about all these people that teach sales, and they go, you can't ever sound desperate, because they'll know. You can't feel desperate. You can't sound desperate, because it's an energy you're putting out, and they will know. And I thought so many times, I know I sounded desperate. I know I did. How are you an entrepreneur and you don't reach those moments of absolute desperation? Because it happens.
Yep. Well, it's funny, you know, I don't think I sounded desperate, but the fact that I was on my knees at all the meetings may have given the secret away. But an interesting side, a little bit side bit, is that the guy at the rugby league's name was Graham Clark. And anyway, about 3 years later, he's having a barbecue at my place. And I said to him, "Oh, mate, listen, you know, if you only knew the position we were in at that time, you would have never given us the license. I was broke." And he looked at me. He was a smoker, and he had a cigarette in his hand, and he took it out of his mouth, and he said, "JD, what makes you think I didn't know you were broke?" And to be honest with you, I teared up. I said, "You've got to be joking." He said, "Yep." I said, "Why did you give it to me?" He said, "Your enthusiasm and your, if you like, your almost childish fervor for getting this thing done." I said to the powers to be, "This guy is doing it tough at the moment, but I reckon he'll bring this home." And I said, "But that could have cost you your job." He said, "Yep, but I reckon it was worth betting on you." So lovely, lovely stuff. Yeah.
That is so awesome. That's and here's the thing. I suspect that you have carried that into your business dealings as well.
Absolutely.
And you know, I think that that's a lesson for the whole world to hear right now, is like, man, if you just help other people, Zig Ziglar said it, right? Help enough other people get what they want out of life, you'll excuse me. So I think that's beautiful, man. I think that's absolutely beautiful. Thank you for sharing that story. Talk about where things have gone since those days for you, because rumor has it you're an international rock star.
Yes, I try and portray that. Yeah, you do not want to hear me sing. Look, what happened, Ken, is that when we did make the quick comeback, and I was very thankful to the guy upstairs, because there's no doubt that I reckon he had something to do with it. I had to keep my promise, and that promise was that if I got back on my feet, I'd inspire other people not to ever give up. And Sir Winston Churchill had a very famous speech when he was Prime Minister. He went back to the school that he went to when he was a child, and the kids asked him for his advice on just, a mantra for life. And it's a famous speech. It's called the Never Give Up speech. And he just said to the kids, no matter how much you get kicked in the guts, you should never, ever, 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 ever. And he went on with 17 evers, ever give up, right? And so anyway, I thought, look, the best way I could pay back is sell the business, which I did, and take 6 months off, which is the only 6 months I've ever taken off, and produce a TV show. And that TV show was called Dreams Can Come True. And,
that's awesome.
Yeah, there was an Australian rock star many years ago here in Australia who was the equal to David Cassidy, I guess, in America, and his name was Dale Braithwaite. So I rang him up. I didn't know him, but I just rang him up, and I said, look, I've pitched a pilot to Channel 10, and it's called Dreams Can Come True. And this particular rock star did a David Cassidy. He was a huge star, then faded away, and then came back again. And I caught him on the come back again wave. And I said, would you like to be the host of the show? And he said, I'm a rock star. I don't do TV. I said, well, I've never done TV either. It makes two of us. And so as it turned out, I went into Channel 10 and I pitched the show to them. And it was all about making dreams come true for needy people. And if they didn't have a house, we gave them a house. If they didn't have a car, we gave them a car. If they hadn't seen their mother for 14 years, we brought their mother out from Ireland, wherever it was, right?
Yeah.
And when I pitched it to the TV network, I'd made a pilot about a little boy who got bashed up by his father, and he and his mum were left in a caravan, and his dream of all dreams was just to see a special footballer here in Australia who was like a Babe Ruth. His name was Mal Meninga. I mean, nothing to you American listeners, but the point is he was a big superstar, and he was in his last year of playing football. And I asked him, would he be able to make this little boy's dream come true? Well, guess what? He visited the little boy's school and walked through the door, right? And we filmed it, and I gave that as the pilot to the TV station. The TV network guy was just crying his eyes out and said, we've got to get this. He said, how much for the show? And I had a woman with me at the time who was my side saddle, Linda, and we just wanted to pay back. I hadn't even thought about how much I charged for the damn show. And they were going to put it up as an hour show against 60 Minutes every Sunday night. And I said, $142,000. I just pulled it out of my you-know-where. And the guy goes from the TV network, shit, that's a lot of money. And he said, we get Simpsons and 90210 for 25 grand. I was going to say, well, I'll take 25 grand. But anyway, I held my cards close to my chest, and he said, well, you better have some big superstars for that. I had no one. And I said, oh, we got the biggest. And he said, who? I said, Michael Jordan. And he said, Michael Jordan? And it was Michael Jordan's last year of playing. And Linda,
oh my God,
the girl beside me is going, WTF, what the hell are you digging your hole here? And, anyway, the guy goes, mate, you got 6 episodes at 142 an episode. Now, it didn't matter. I spent 170 an episode on it, and we didn't make any money on the TV show, but I was doing it for other reasons. So we get to the elevator, and the program is waving goodbye to us as the door's closing. And Linda and I, my cohort, they're doing high fives, going, oh, fantastic. We've done hundreds of TV commercials, but never had a TV show. This is fantastic. And she said, yeah. And I said, Linda, there's one thing I want you to do for me. And she said, what? I said, get bloody Michael Jordan, right? Well, this is how the guy upstairs works. Okay. I wrote, it was a fax machine in those days. It wasn't email.
Yeah.
I found his fax number, and so I sent a fax to Michael Jordan. Well, first of all, we put out the All Points Bulletin to all the parish priests and ministers. Was there any little child that would like to meet Michael Jordan? Well, yeah, guess what? And we had this wonderful, wonderful minister from just north of Sydney say, look, there's a little 15-year-old boy who's suffers from spina bifida, and he's in a wheelchair. And because his life's not flash, he tried to kill himself about 6 months earlier. He tried to commit suicide. And fortunately, he was not successful. But he has a dream, and that dream is just to get Michael Jordan's autograph. And I thought, well, we can do better than that. So I wrote to Michael Jordan and just said, look, this is the go. Is there any chance if we bring this little boy to Chicago that you would meet him? And guess what? We surprised the little boy after one of his games, and we took him to the Michael Jordan restaurant in Chicago. He went to the game the night before, and Michael Jordan took him to lunch the next day in his own restaurant.
Oh my God. You flew him from, obviously you flew him. Oh my God. Are you kidding me?
And to build up, so you appreciate the build up to this. What had happened is the little boy was so good at basketball after not being successful with the suicide attempt. A friend gave him a wheelchair, and it wasn't a basketball wheelchair. It was just a wheelchair that he played in, and he joined the Wheelchair Association for basketball. And if the team scored 50 points, he scored 40 of them, right? And at the end of one of his games with a big stadium, he was playing for one of the states in Australia, New South Wales. So it'd be a bit like if you're playing for California. And at the end of the game, he and the rest of the team in their wheelchairs were lined up, and we had a dolly track, as you would know what that is, a railway track in front of the camera crew. Camera stops in front of him, and his eyes tears up because he doesn't know what's happening. And the announcer said, listen, there's a young boy here who's proven to us the unbelievable never give up attitude, because he's basically picked himself up, and he's a wonderful player, and his dream of all dreams is to actually get a Michael Jordan autograph. And the little boy starts crying, and so did the whole crowd. And he said, I got news for you. Not only are you going to get an autograph, but on Thursday you're flying to America. You'll be stopping off at Disneyland and then going across to Chicago, and you'll be seeing Michael Jordan play on the Wednesday night. On the Thursday, Michael Jordan's taking you to lunch. And guess what? When we got there, Jordan had worked out it was his 15th birthday. I spilled the beans on that. Michael Jordan came out of the kitchen with a birthday cake and candles singing happy birthday.
Oh, my God. What the heck? Wow. Yeah. That is incredible, John.
So we ran the TV show right throughout the episodes. We had assistants from all sorts of Princess Di, Steven Spielberg, Paul Hogan, the Crocodile Dundee guy, Meatloaf. It goes on and on and on. There was Sylvester Stallone, all of the big stars. As soon as I asked them would they help out, because not that it was a show about superstars, it was just the TV network said, if you're going to do all these nice things, we have to have a celebrity status as well. Otherwise, I wouldn't have worried about the celebrities otherwise. Yeah. But as it turned out, it was just a wonderful thing. I've got to tell you this story, Ken. It involves Steven Spielberg. A little boy with a skin-eating disease was about 14 years of age, and he wanted to be Steven Spielberg, right, like every filmmaker, But this little boy had a camera, and unfortunately, the skin-eating disease was not real flash. Anyway, so what would happen after each show on a Sunday night, we would get thousands upon thousands upon thousands of letters from people who asked for a dream for someone else. You could never ask for a dream for yourself. So it was philanthropy.
Right.
And the letter came in from this particular neighbour, and they said, this little boy is 14 years of age and things have not been real good for him. He has a skin-eating disease. Is there any chance at all he could get Steven Spielberg's autograph? And I thought, oh, well, that's too easy. So we contacted Spielberg's office and said, is there any chance the little boy could meet Steven Spielberg? And they said, look, he's in the Amazon jungle doing Jurassic Park 2 or 3 at the moment, so therefore, it's going to be impossible. And I didn't know whether we could do it. I said, well, we'll just take the little boy to the Amazon jungle. And they said, what?
Oh, my God.
And we had a thing. There was only 4 or 5 of us that were making the TV show, and none of us had any clue what we were doing. Wow. And so therefore, it was so silly that at the end of the TV show, when the credits roll, because there was only half a dozen of us doing it, we had to actually pick friends' names and just put them in the credits because we didn't have a staff of thousands. Anyway, so Spielberg contacts us and says, listen, unfortunately, we organised to get little boy into the Amazon jungle, but he said at the last moment, just as we're about to announce it to the little boy with the surprise, you're going to go and meet Steven Spielberg, his office came back and said, look, Mr. Spielberg said, unfortunately, the insurance won't let him come into the jungle because if he's got a skin-eating disease, mosquitoes are the size of seagulls, right? So you can't get into the jungle. Oh, my God. And Steven Spielberg said, but if you like, what I'll do is organise for one of my friends to meet him. And whenever I'm telling this story on stage at a seminar, I always say, that'd be like saying, you're going to get to meet me, but you get to meet my wife. I mean, seriously.
Right.
Steven Spielberg's going to, let you meet one of his friends. Guess what? Guess who his friends was? George Lucas at Skywalker Ranch in San Francisco. George Lucas. So therefore, we took the little bit.
Wow.
It was a wonderful. If you said to me what was the highlight of my career, there's 6 months of doing these TV shows where you were Santa Claus every night. That was the highlight. Yeah.
You mentioned that it costs you, $170,000 or whatever an episode, and so you literally lost money on these things. But you were doing something phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal to give back. I cannot believe we've been on here 47 minutes almost. That's crazy. This has gone like that, John. So, and Mandy thinks you have a UK accent. Uh-oh.
Right.
Uh-oh.
Well, I better say g'day, Mandy, so she knows it's Aussie. Yeah.
Yeah. G'day. So, so when that ended, when you stopped doing that, where'd you go from there? Cause you've done some pretty amazing things, man.
Yeah, well, we went back to my knitting, which of course is marketing. And as it turned out, we're doing what we do these days. We're a marketing agency. And so therefore, you know what that's all about too, Ken. Of course, you're one too. And I guess one of my other big hires had Jerry Seinfeld involved in it. So what had happened is I had a bank here in Australia called the Greater Building Society, which is a bank. And I became a consultant to them. And they were Australia's 250th biggest business, but they were nowhere near as big as the Wells Fargo style banks here in Australia.
Yeah.
And so when I became a consultant, I said to them, look, you're a challenger brand. And they said, oh, what's that? I said, well, it's basically a brand that's challenging the big Coca-Cola brands. And that's what you are. Why are you price discounting? And they said, what do you mean? I said, I've seen all your TV ads, home loans for 6.2%. Do you think that Wells Fargo in Australia, Wells Fargo are not in Australia, but the Wells Fargo style bank in Australia, do you think they're going to let you sit on 6.2? They're going to come out with 6.1 and you're never going to win. And they said, well, what do we do? I said, you do something different, you challenge. And so as it turned out, what we did is we came out with a campaign, get a home loan from this particular bank and get a free vacation. It went nuts. It went absolutely crazy. And as it turned out, they took an extra $15 billion worth of home loans in the first few years. And this idiot, this moron who you're talking to, Ken, did not take a percentage of the increase in home loans. I had look, I tried, but of course it was impossible. But I had a nice consultancy fee. But anyway, they did very well out of it. And about 4 years into what was a 10-year promotion, then we took it up a level and I got Jerry Seinfeld to become the spokesman for this bank down under.
Wow.
And again, it was just through persistence. I just bugged the daylights out of George Shapiro, who was his manager out of Hollywood. And when I eventually met Jerry, because I had to go backwards and forwards to New York for 3 years doing all the TV commercials with him, I said to him on the first meeting, "Why did you say yes?" And he said exactly the same as the guy that gave me the trading card license for the football. He said, "Well, I love Australian sense of cheeky humour, and you like to take the piss out of people. I do that for a living." And he said, the second thing is, I thought if I didn't say yes, you'd never go away.
Oh my God. Here's the thing. Two things. Number one, I'm really good friends with Pat Hazel, which was Pat and his writing partner were the very first writers for the Seinfeld show, and they were with Jerry the entire time. He lives here in Texas.
Wow.
Pat is an amazing, funny guy. Second, Grant Cardone says that the money is in the follow-up. And this is another huge lesson that you just provided twice now for everybody listening. If you're an entrepreneur or in sales and you ask one time, which most salespeople don't even ask for the order, which is insane to me, but they don't even ask. But if you only ask once and give up, that's not where the money is. The money is in what John just told you. It's following up to the point of, I've heard Grant say, "Look, man, I'm going to follow up until one of us is dead." And I love that, because that's where the money is, right?
Yeah, dead right. Yeah, dead right. Yeah, well, yeah, and I would say, we've got 6 millennial kids, and I guess 3 of them take after my wife, and she's very well mannered, and she's just a nice person. And 3 of them end up cheeky like me. So I don't know who wins and who loses. But I've tried to say to the whole 6 of them, and they only really listen to you when they get a mortgage. Up until then, you're just an ATM,
Right.
But I just try to say to them, look, hang around crazy people. Try not to hang around normal, regular people, because you want to have a fun life, and hang around people who say why not people who say why. Because Ken, I'm sure that in the names that you've just been mentioning, they're all why not people, and that is when you have a good idea, they go, "Oh, why not?" Whereas if you hang around people who go, "Oh, why?" I mean, you just feel like jumping off a cliff yourself.
I love how you sugarcoat everything. You need to learn how to be a little more to the point.
Hey Ken, you know what I say at the seminars? I always say to them, look, if you join my marketing coaching program, you're going to have to realize that I'm not a consultant, I'm an insultant. Ken, I've got to tell you this. I'll tell you that it came back to bite me recently. I was doing a conference, a seminar, and of course, at the end of it, you pitch for your marketing, consultancy services. And I said, look, if anybody who likes to join my, it's called the Institute of Wow. So therefore, anyone who wants to join the Institute of Wow program, go down the back with your credit card, and we'll have smoke coming out of it pretty quickly. And I said, if you come on board, I will pretend to like you. If you don't come on board, I hope you die in your sleep. And then I say, by the way, we're like Disneyland. We have a height restriction. We don't take on any small people. They scare me. They're like carnies. And the other thing we do is that we don't take on any women who are called Beryl or Esme, because have you ever heard of an interesting Beryl or Esme? And this guy comes up to me at the end and he goes, JD, I want to join your program. My wife's not here. I rung her up and she supported to join your program. But he said, I have a problem. I said, what's that? He said, she's only 5'2". I said, look, I'll have to take that to a committee. I can't make a decision on that, And he said, it gets worse. I said, why? He said, her name's Beryl.
Oh my God, are you serious?
Yeah, of course I had to give him a high five. He was only taking the what out of me.
Yeah. So John, first off, you're hilarious. Second, you and I talked about the up front, we talked about you had, and just so everybody knows, he has a free gift for anybody watching. And I definitely want to make sure, since we're coming to the top of the hour, that's unbelievable to me, that you have this gift, and I'm going to throw it up on screen. I would love for you to tell everybody what this is. You can go to wowmanifesto.com/free, and get this free gift. So talk about what this is. I'm going to give you full screen.
Oh, thank you. Okay, thanks. Yeah, look, what it is, Ken, when I do podcasts and so forth, I mean, most of them ask, is there anything at all that you can provide to people as a value add at the end of it? And this happens to be a pretty big value add. When I got into doing the seminars, I didn't realize, but you're supposed to write a book. And so therefore, the promoters said to me, look, you're going to have to write a book. And I thought, well, if I'm called the Institute of Wow.com, I better write a big book. So therefore, I went ridiculous as usual and created this thing, which is about the tabloid size. And in here is the last 15 years of all of the direct response marketing ideas that have worked for my clients. Okay, so I didn't put the ones in here that didn't work. I didn't think that would be smart, Ken.
Wow.
So it's a gigantic SWOT file, and of course, I think towards the end here, of course, guess what? We have to. Oopsie daisy. There you go. A bit of light on it there, but hang on, I'll bring it back.
Wrong way. Wrong. There you go. Keep coming.
Okay,
there
so that guy is in there quite a bit. But yeah, so if you own a business, and even if you don't, if you just wanted this, I mean, I can't send you the leather bound copy. This is $400 a book to print, but the fact is that I'll give you the digital copy for that. And as I think Ken's got it going across the screen, wowmanifesto.com/free. That's yours.
Yeah.
If you
wow.
If you go to that website, it's yours for free.
That is so awesome. Can people buy that book though from you?
Yep, we normally sell it for $400. The book itself, it's a damn nuisance to post around the world, to be honest with you, Ken. I mean, sure. I did do it for a while, but it was just a pain in the where. But the actual digital version of that, which is what everyone will get for free, we normally sell for $497. Wow. And without being silly about it, I mean, if it's a digital product, as you know, once you've made it, then there's no costs, and so therefore that's why you can give it away for free. But if I'm doing a seminar or a conference, we sell the program for $497. But if I'm doing a podcast like this, where people haven't seen me on stage, the best way to actually say thank you for putting up with my dad jokes is just to give them the whole thing for free. I
love that. That is incredible. John, you are quite the character. I'm so grateful that you've come on here and spent time. What's the best social media platforms that everybody could follow you on?
Probably the Institute of Wow. Facebook is my best one. I mean, I do the Instagram and LinkedIn and so forth, but I'm on LinkedIn as well. I mean, someone surprised me the other day. I didn't realize how many people we have, but we've got 18,000 followers on LinkedIn for, a little guy down under. That's not bad. And Facebook, we've got about 10,000. So probably Facebook or LinkedIn, and you can find me, the Institute of Wow, John Dwyer.
The Institute of Wow. If somebody would type that in to the comments, that would be awesome. I'd really appreciate it. And while you're at it, type in wowmanifesto.com/free. So it's clickable from Facebook. But John, you are a great, great man. You're very, very funny. I hope everybody watching and the people who listen to the podcast in the future, I hope people follow you and pay attention and go get the free gift. For the love of God, go get it. It's unbelievable. Wow.
Ken, one more thing that would be a freebie that might be valuable to somebody on our website, which of course is theinstituteofwow.com. There's a tab up the top that says case studies. And it may well be, if anyone's starting up a business or they've got a son or a daughter that might be in their late teens and they're ready to sort of go out into the entrepreneurial world, if you go to theinstituteofwow.com and click on the case studies at the top, you will see not only the Seinfeld case study, but you'll see all of these case studies of butchers, bakers, and candlestick makers that you can just swipe. So that might be something that might be of interest to people as well.
There it is. My wife typed it into the comments. Thank you for doing that, Jill.
Oh, thank you, Jill. And Ken, can I ask you one more thing? This is a trivia thing, but what do you think they're going to call Bob the Builder when he retires?
Don't know.
Bob. I Ken, the one that gets them at the seminars. Listen. Did you hear the news this morning on the radio? What happened in Hollywood? And they go, what? I said, yeah, there was a famous actress that was stabbed. And everyone goes, oh my God, who was it? I said, Reese
Witherspoon.
No, with a knife. Yeah. I'm sorry.
Oh my God, that is so funny. That is so funny. So, oh my gosh. And Jill, thank you. Don't forget the wowmanifesto.com/free to get the free gift from John. So you got to put the /free on the end of the Wow Manifesto. But thank you so much, John. I really appreciate you. I love your sense of humor and your dad jokes. Some of them are actually funny.
Hey, well,
I'm
one final thing. My 25-year-old came to one of my Song and Dance shows, a seminar recently, and I don't think our kids, I don't think they even knew what put food on the table. I don't know if they knew what I did, quite frankly. But these days, yeah, he came along, and it was a one-day event, so that went for like 7 or 8 hours. And at the end of it, his name's Shane. He comes up to me, and he's not prone to giving his father too many compliments, by the way. And he said, "Dad, that stuff was really, all those case studies and stuff, that's pretty good." And I'm waiting for the but, and I went, "Yeah, go on." And he goes, "But," and I went, "Yeah, okay, what?" He goes, "Stop the dad jokes. You're not funny."
A prophet is useless in his hometown, I believe, is what Jesus says. That's awesome. Well, John, thank you so much. Jill, thank you for correcting that. I appreciate that so much. Everybody go to thewowmanifesto.com/free.
No, sorry, Jill. Sorry, Jill. You're not going to get paid this week by Ken, because the word "the" is not on that one. It's just wow.
It's wow, man. It's not it's wowmanifesto.com/free. She's going to type as quick as she can now to correct that. I guarantee it. But I'm probably going to be ending this before she has a chance. But John, thank you so much. I want everybody watching and everybody listening, please share this out. Number one. Number two, go follow John everywhere on all the social media platforms, and make sure you go to wowmanifesto.com/free and get the free gift. The big giant book that John just held up. It's available for free from John as a gift to you on his website. You get the digital version of it 100% free. So, John, thank you again. Thank you, everybody, for watching and sharing. Have a blessed day. And John, thank you so much. I really appreciate you. Stay with me. I'm going to end the live stream, but thank you so much, John. I really do appreciate you.
Thank you, Ken.
All right. We'll see you guys later. Have a great day.